prosecuted for that. And for what it's worth, the president says he didn't know. He didn't know anything about her.
Give me a break. He knows how much paint is being painted in the White House. You're telling me he doesn't know what's going on with someone like this who he's known for decades? That's bullshit.
Hey guys, welcome to My Brother's Ballad. I'm your boy Poe Theory. So as we know, the Epstein files is the story that the conservatives, which they are the reasons that this is even a big deal in the first place. But obviously the conservatives, MAGA, Republicans, everyone, they don't want to talk about it anymore. But the lovely podcasters, the YouTubers like me, and we are not letting it go. And I was very excited to see that CNN is pushing the story because we need to know, why is Trump trying so hard to get rid of this story? So let's get into it.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
A truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. It's a new day. It's a new administration, and everything's going to come out to the public.
Now, I do want to stipulate that my wife once gave me this bar of soap to wash my mouth out when I got caught swearing on TV. With that in mind, Scott Jennings, we just heard the clip there. Why is J.D. Vance so concerned with bullshit?
Well, I'm going to apologize to my 11-year-old who's in the green room trying to watch this show right now for our potty talk tonight.
The nerve of Scott Jennings to say that his son is in the green room and he needs to apologize to him for potty talk. Scott Jennings, do you know the long list of things that you support that are way more abhorrent than swear words? And also, too, this show is called Newsnight. Your 11-year-old should be in bed.
The show right now for our potty talk tonight.
The president's potty talk. Let's be fair.
Well, you certainly.
I'm so sorry for repeating the president of the United States.
Exactly. So we're going to hold an anchor to a higher standard than the president.
Look, here's the deal. I don't know what they're going to do. I know that the dinner they were supposed to be having, they say the vice president directly says was not about Epstein. I don't know if they've made any decisions. I don't know. I don't know what they're planning to do. I didn't know what they were planning to do last night either. Nothing has changed in the last 24 hours. And so I assume at some point they're going to have to release some information. I assume at some point the members of the Republican leadership in Congress are going to have to decide how to handle a vote when they come back in September. But we're having the same conversation tonight that we had last night, that we had Friday, that we had Thursday, that we had Wednesday, and so on and so forth. And I think the president has a point. It's because nobody wants to talk about the good things that are happening in the country. So we're diverting into this.
I will say one of the reasons
I would love to know what good things are happening in this country. Unmarked cars rounding up immigrants, some citizens, the economy crashing, tariffs costing American households. But go off, Scott.
So we're diverting into this.
I will say one of the reasons we're talking about it is because the Deputy Attorney General spent 2 days talking to a woman convicted of conspiring to sexually abuse minors with Jeffrey Epstein.
How many weeks ago?
He talked to her for 2 days, hasn't released what he talked about, and the president today called that a hoax.
Listen, I find it pretty interesting that folks are feigning outrage over how long we're talking about this, because it's been a couple of weeks, self-inflicted by the president of the United States and his MAGA grifters who made podcasting careers out of demanding the Epstein files would be released. Now those people are in positions of power that they could actually release the Epstein files, and all of a sudden...
Literally, this Epstein scandal is completely of the Republicans' doing. Just like Tara just said, you had all of these people that literally created a career, a podcast career, especially through the election, around the conspiracy of Epstein. And then when you pluck those podcasters and put them in positions of power where they were pushing for the release of these files, and now all of a sudden they start to move like the deep state and nobody's supposed to say anything about it, get out of here.
Could actually release the Epstein files, and all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. It's on the desk. It's not on the desk. It's a hoax. It's not. It's Democrats' fault, but it's bullshit now. They can't get their lies straight. So that's why we're still here. And yet the survivors who were victimized by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein have had to live with this for 30 years. 30 years. So you know what? Too bad if it's uncomfortable for people in MAGA world and for Republicans to have to keep defending this, because the survivors of these heinous acts and of these monsters have had to endure this for decades, and they deserve justice. And unfortunately, only since the last couple of days have the survivors actually been given some agency, and their voices are beginning to be heard, where it really should be about them and justice for them, not for Donald Trump and his MAGA world trying to
Tara Setmeyer has always been extremely impressive. I don't know if you guys know about her background. Obviously, she was a Republican. If I'm not mistaken, she was a part of the Lincoln Project, but now she is a co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project. I don't agree with Tara Setmeyer on a lot, but when it comes to social issues, she tends to be a very spot on, especially since I don't like calling her a never Trumper simply because I feel like never Trumpers, in my opinion, are still Republicans and probably still would vote for all the policies that Donald Trump is doing. I just feel like they don't like how and who Donald Trump is. So I just wouldn't put her in that box, but she was supposed to get a job on The View. She had a little too much fire. And obviously the liberals on that show was not going to have her on there. So
for Donald Trump and his MAGA world trying to figure out ways to cover his behind because they're the ones who've been lying to the American people and protecting predators.
I agree with you that the victims should be the people who we are all focused on, and everyone who perpetrated a crime here should be punished to the full extent of the law, whether they have been punished yet or not. Mm-hmm. Right? We should all be able to agree on that.
Yep.
But what I want to know is why have House Democrats not been so insistent on this for the last 4 years? When Merrick Garland was the Attorney General and when Joe Biden was president, they suddenly got interested in it like 2 weeks ago.
No, they should.
And I don't know if you can hear Nina Turner saying they should have been. Nina Turner, who is one of my favorite politicians and now political commentators and pundits, extremely left. When you have someone like Nina Turner on a panel and everything is so partisan, it's very difficult to battle someone like Nina Turner when it comes to conservatives trying to battle her, because Nina Turner has no issue with going against the Democrats and definitely has no issue with going against the Republicans. So as you can hear her saying, well, yeah, the Democrats should have been caring about this. They should have been discussing this. But now they find time and energy to speak about the Epstein files now that Trump is in office, but they should have been thinking about this when Biden was in office, and not just being afraid that, which we already know, that Bill Clinton could have been involved or on a list or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, we know that the left and the right don't like PDF files. So she's correct in that.
Should have been, unless I will confess that they should have been, and I agree. The victim should be centered. We shouldn't be protecting power for pedophiles. And it is a legitimate question to ask, where were the Democrats? This shouldn't be a partisan issue. It could be political, but it shouldn't be partisan. We should care about girls and younger women who were sexually abused, and bring all of those people, whether they're Democrats or Republicans on the list, bring them to justice. So absolutely, where were the Democrats?
I think the sticking point here is that,
and see, that is how you have to do it. And that's why I feel like progressives should be the spokespersons for the Democratic Party, because at the end of the day, when you are holding your own party's feet to the fire and you know that the opposite side does not hold their party's feet to the fire, whenever they say, well, what about you? No, I agree. We should do that. And now that I've agreed to that, now, what do you think? What about your guy? You notice he had nothing to say there.
I think the sticking point here is that the Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein, all of this was made a core piece of mythology from the right. A core piece of mythology, one of the most solid books in their Bible, because it was an example of the depth of the deep state, how much we had been taken over by bureaucracy, how much that bureaucracy was covering up for rich and powerful people. And Donald Trump and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and all those people were supposed to come in and take a sledgehammer to that. And they don't want to do it. And no amount of obfuscating, no amount of distraction is going to change the fact that they don't want to do it. And the answer is why. To be honest with you, the Democrats...
We know what the answer is, because again, I think one of the major tenets of the story, because I know there's a lot of people that are out here thinking that Donald Trump is on there for doing X, Y, and Z, the more nefarious things. But even if he is not on the list for doing nefarious things or what have you, the scandal was being involved, all of these rich, wealthy, and powerful people around the country hobnobbing with this guy. And there's this huge cabal and they run the world, and look how they were protecting him and he was protecting them and doing whatever with their money. But when the right picked this up, it was just about associations. It was only about associations. Had you been to the island, all those things, it was just that bare minimum. Now, their Big Daddy Trump is so connected, which I don't think you needed to see that he was in the files to know that he was connected, because we have plenty of videos of him saying, oh, Jeffrey Epstein, he's a great guy. I think he likes women. He likes girls even younger than I like them. Like, come on.
Democrats and everybody culturally, we turned our eye away from this. It's definitely true. It's true. But, you know, just to be real with you, it's becoming more of a thing because of the hesitancy to deal with it. You're starting to wonder, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, talk to me more about that, because I'm not, to the extent that the Epstein situation wasn't in the mainstream before, Van, do you think it's more in the mainstream now?
When I was on TMZ and Epstein passed away, I actually got in trouble because I said it was the most bipartisan accomplishment that Washington had had in a generation, right? He had his hands in everything. Everyone was around. I saw a picture of him from the Times with him and Fidel Castro. They're laughing, having fun. Like, what's going on? People are now starting to concoct and invent scenarios about the depth of this because the government is obviously not keeping it straight with the people.
1000%. I go back to this all the time. The cover up is always worse than the actual crime.
Not keeping it straight with the people. And at a certain point, the president can say whatever he wants to say, but I think he's reached the limit of how much his supporters are going to take from him without holding him accountable.
Can I ask you, Brad, one thing? You said you want to punish everyone to the full extent of the law. Does that include Ghislaine Maxwell, who just got this highly mysterious move to a literal prison camp in Texas, which is way cushier by all accounts? A country club I read, like Atmosphere in one of the papers, you have to get super high approval to get moved there. Is that being punished to the full extent of the law?
There's we can't release a lot of things because courts won't let them. Like grand jury
That is such BS. The courts won't allow Trump to release anything of the Department of Justice. Let's be very clear. Trump has no issue with skirting around the judicial system to get what he needs done for his administration. There have been plenty of panels with this man and Scott Jennings talking about how the court systems are literally bogging down Trump's agenda and how it is not right when he runs the executive branch, even though they are three co-equal branches. He obviously loves to leave that out. But now all of a sudden, Trump wants to listen to judicial orders.
Because courts won't let them. Like grand jury testimony cannot be released. They've asked the courts to do that. They can't do it. So what's the next best thing? Talk to somebody, even someone who's culpable. And Ghislaine Maxwell is definitely culpable. See if she will divulge details that we don't know that we could make public. If they have to move her from prison A to prison B to get her to talk, to release more details, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
She's already in jail 20 years for the crimes that she's committed. Obviously, everything that we would need to know is in the files to make it seem like she has more morsels of truth, what have you, that the justice system is unaware of. All this is a stall tactic. And also, for whatever BS information that Trump's former defense attorney, now working for the Justice Department, who went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell. Are you guys hearing all these conflicts? Like, is it clicking?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
This is outrageous. Well, first of all, just to reemphasize how outrageous it is that she was moved from a medium security prison to a prison camp. I worked on commutations and pardons when I was a congressional staffer. I've actually been to these types of facilities. And I can tell you, when I was advocating for Border Patrol agents who were unjustly prosecuted and facing 11 and 12 years in prison, they were not a threat. They were not going to abscond, and trying to get them moved closer to their family to a prison camp required virtually an act of the president. The Bureau of Prisons was not trying to do it. It didn't matter. So this was something that was clearly done as a favor. Why is the president of the United States and this administration doing favors for a convicted child sex trafficker? I would like to be very clear. I don't know how many of you guys have seen my videos and how much I love to focus on Scott Jennings, but I feel like I'm really starting to learn who Scott Jennings is. When Scott Jennings feels like he has a dog in the fight, he is cutting people off.
He is making, he's scoffing at people. He is literally trying to pull the attention from everyone else onto him. When he knows he doesn't have a dog in the fight, he just sits there and he says nothing.
Sex trafficker. I did that is the answer. That should be asked every single day. He cannot.
Is he doing it so that, are they doing it so that perhaps she will give more information?
She's had plenty of opportunity to do that. She's also been convicted of perjury. She's going to say and do whatever she needs to.
She was never convicted of perjury. The two things. One, the prosecutor said that she committed perjury. They didn't go and prosecute her for that. And for what it's worth, the president says he didn't know. He didn't know anything about her.
Give me a break. He knows how much paint is being painted in the White House. You're telling me he doesn't know what's going on with someone like this who he's known for decades? That's bullshit.
So we have lots of speeches about how we got to protect the victims. If there's one person who we can get to.
And I'm dying at her continuously saying BS because she knows how Scott is feigning and being so verklempt that you just said that word, even though the president keeps saying she's really trying to dig into him. And I appreciate that.
Who we can get to, who might be able to provide information that could bring people to justice. You don't want them to talk to her?
I don't want to, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. The credibility of this person who
so you don't want all the information?
No. I would love all the information, and you know where that is. You know where that is? That's in the files that the FBI and the Justice Department.
You don't think she might have something to say?
Thank you. Again, you don't have to jump through all these hoops and all these stall tactics to get all the information that the American people are looking for. That is in the Justice Department that is ran by Pam Bondi, who Donald Trump appointed.
I'd have something to say.
She's going to say whatever she needs to because Donald Trump has control over her freedom. So I'm sorry, what she has to say is irrelevant at this point. It's what the credibility of what she has to say is garbage. Where you can find that information is in the files that the Department of Justice, that Pam Bondi could release right now, today. It has nothing to do with the courts.
Are you aware of what the victims themselves say in regards to how they feel about Maxwell's release or pardon in the conversation?
It's a release or pardon.
Well, no.
But
listen, what they have talked about is the very direct ways that Maxwell victimized them.
Correct.
And
that's why she's in jail.
She's a criminal,
for that?
right? So what I'm saying right now
she should be talked to and mined for information. That's the argument.
Rather than add something onto it and introduce a new component into it, release what we have.
Correct.
Release what we have so that people can see it and make their own minds up about what's untoward, what's criminal, or what's not.
Number one reason that I love having people like Van Jones, I am so sorry that I keep doing that to you, Van Lathan, because you are nowhere near a Van Jones. You actually are consistent and you speak to your true values. But one thing I love about having Van Lathan on the panel, to me, he is extremely intelligent and he speaks like the everyday man where it makes sense and he doesn't have to create all of these soliloquies and legalese and things like that. He speaks so clearly and makes so much sense that it's hard for the opposition to combat what he's saying.
About what's untoward, what's criminal, or what's not. Bringing her in so that she can parrot what people want her to say and then rewarding her for abusing young women for decades. It's ridiculous.
It's untenable. Yeah. And big ups to people like Representative Rokana, Rep. Massey, and Rep. Summer Lee. At least they're continuing to push this issue. All of America should be outraged by this.
All right, and big props to all of you who did not swear, unlike.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. One of the things that I would like to say just from this video is that when the Republicans say, well, if there's something in there, why didn't Biden release it? Why didn't Biden's Justice Department release it? And whenever someone on the left tries to defend it, I would venture to say that they should say he should have released all of the information. That's all you have to say. Whenever you accept that framing or try to fight that, you end up looking like the Epstein files is a political football. You are seeing, like I said, there are people on the left and the right. The majority of people on the left and the right are against PDF files. They are. This is a win-win. But my message to Democrats is be prepared for the ones that you love to be in the files as well. Don't just try to push it because you think it's going to knock down a whole bunch of MAGA heads or whatever the case may be. But anywho, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Peace.